If you love sports, then you'll love Stats and Stilettos.
First and goal from the 3. Here's Bush. Touchdown Bears. 3-yard touchdown run by Michael Bush, playing his first game as a Chicago Bear. Bears leading by 7. Only points for the Rams have come on field goals. And here's a slant. It's picked off. An interception by Major Wright, who will run it in for the touchdown. And no flags down. And so when Lovie Smith wanted turnovers, he got a big one right here.
This, was a bounce-back game for us. Simple as that. We seem like we've been practicing forever. We need to come out strong. Defense really came out ready to play. Our defensive line has played outstanding ball all year, and they set the tone today. I think we had 6 sacks or so. Israel Donajay was outstanding. That pressure did a lot. We're playing a good offense. Sam Bradford's great quarterback. They had moved the ball against a lot of people. So defense really did some good things today. Felt like we had control of the game. Tim Jennings has been outstanding. We talked about him OTAs, training camp, preseason, and he's making plays.
The Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON, Stats and Stilettos. Right back at you. What's going on, everybody? I'm Fruit Basir.
I'm Maya Kai.
And Ty will be here shortly. She just landed. Her flight lands at 9. Wouldn't it be so fine? So she'll be
jet setting.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, tonight we'll be talking about that very exciting defensive Bears win today.
It was a defensive win, absolutely.
We'll be talking about that coming up. Coming up at 9:20, we'll go around the league and talk about all the other NFL action from today and tonight and earlier, the past week. 10:20, we will talk about the Chicago Football Classic. A lot of our listeners here in town, even some of you from around the country, know about this game they have every year at Soldier Field, featuring historically black colleges. We'll talk about that with Brittany Rand, social media coordinator for the Chicago Football Classic. We'll do that. We'll also get in a tip of the week probably towards the end of the show. So we have a lot to discuss. You can call the phone number here at the station if you want to talk about any of these things with us, 773-591-1690. That is 773-591-1690. You can listen online at www.wvon.com. You can like our Facebook page, and you can follow us on Twitter at
Stats Stilettos.
Yeah, so do all that. Interact with us. We love the feedback. We love to talk with you, and we love to read the stuff you leave on the various pages. So Bears win 23-6. A lot of the things that they were being knocked about in the preseason and even after the first game against the Indianapolis Colts, the defense stepped up in their last game against Green Bay, and they made even more progress this week against the Rams team that had been playing pretty good offensively.
But here's the issue. I don't think there's a single Bears fan anywhere in Chicago or across the United States that has any question mark behind the defense. The expectation this year was that this was going to be a high-powered offense, not just because it looked good on paper, but because the Bears finally did some things they hadn't done in a while. They went out and got number 1 receivers, in Marshall. They drafted, Jeffries. Obviously, they have a good running game in Forte, Michael Bush. You just kind of expected a bit more offensively than you clearly have gotten in these last 2 games. And I think that's an issue.
Well, yeah, it's an issue. I can't deny that.
It's an issue. Like, look at it this way. Okay, you struggle against Green Bay. We maybe can say, okay, fine, whatever. But you're struggling against the Rams, a team I'm not saying that you should walk all over, but clearly you should have performed better against offensively than what they did. Yeah. To me, they didn't bother to really spread the field. It was like, let's try to we commit to the running game, and Michael Bush had an outstanding game. Great game for Michael Bush. Khalil Bell, they brought him back into the fold, obviously, after Forte being injured. Didn't get much production out of that, but out of fairness, he really hasn't been playing. So I'll chalk that up to not in football shape, because prior Khalil Bell has always been a good addition to the team. But, trying to force passes, it's just they looked very flat today offensively.
Is Cutler going through one of those slumps he normally goes through every year? It seems like, and then he rolls off. He usually rattles off a hot streak of games. After the 2 or 3 game slump he kind of has today. He made a lot of bad throws today. Honestly, he wasn't really sharp in the game. I didn't see the whole game all the way through, but the parts I saw, he wasn't as sharp. He was better than he was against Green Bay, obviously, but he still wasn't as sharp as he was.
I'm going to attribute to maybe the Bears are a team that just is going to be kind of slow starting and getting the offense to be pieced together. Even though they looked great in that first game against the Colts, which the expectation was they would look good, you kind of expected a little bit of more continuity in the performance. So you had a slump against Green Bay. You come out against the Rams. The offense still looks flat. The O-line here and there, that's still going to be a concern whether you want to acknowledge it or not. And for what it's worth, obviously, this whole last week coming up to this game against the Rams had to be the conversation about Jay Cutler being a drama queen. I was at the point, I was like, you know what? Jay Cutler's not the first quarterback that has, chewed out someone on his team about a lack of performance. But I think the conversation that happened was Mike Tyson, I'm pretty sure, said to Jay Cutler, look, let me take care of them and get them right. Because, lo and behold, they pan over to the sideline, and Mike Tice is giving Jamarcus Webb an earful. Very animated earful. Obviously, it's more acceptable for a coach to do it than to have your quarterback checking people. So, it's just they looked very flat, and it has to get better. There has to be more consistency because clearly they have the talent to make this happen. I want to see the spread, the field spread a bit better. You ran the ball great. They didn't integrate the tight ends enough. It's like I think they should have. You got a couple touches. I think Spaeth maybe got a touch here or there, but they didn't really spread the field the way they could have against this Rams team. I will say this though, Cortland Finnegan, excellent addition to the Rams.
Yeah, he's a bastard. But in a good way, though. You know what I mean? In a good way. Every team needs a guy like that.
I would take him on my team in a heartbeat because he plays with intensity. Every play means a lot to him.
Yeah.
Granted, he is known to be kind of a dirty player, but like you said, every team needs someone who has that kind of attitude.
I want to rewind all the way back to something you said at the start of all that about are they a team that's just notoriously slow starts? You hear a lot of people that cover the Bears, writers and all that, say that Lovey's training camps aren't the toughest or most physical. So do you think it's that? In my opinion, it has to be that. What else could it be? Because every year we kind of get the Bears coming out, and even if they win a couple of games early, they're not as crisp as they would be later on in the season. Like last year, that winning streak came right in the middle of the season.
I'm going to attribute to the flatness of the offense and being you do have a symbol of talent that has not played together consistently. You've got Jay Cutler coming off an injury, getting back into the mix. Obviously, Marshall is new into the fold. Jeffrey is new into the fold. So you do have to find a certain amount of chemistry, and that balance has to exist. And I don't think that comes from training camp. It comes from real competition, against other teams. So I'm gonna chalk it up to they're getting real competition. They're getting defensive looks that they would not obviously get in training camp. So they're having to make the adjustments. We all knew that the Colts were not going to really test how good the offense was. Like I said, if they didn't score 3 touchdowns against the Colts in that opener, it would be ridiculous. But I don't have that same expectation necessarily against Green Bay. I still would have expected a better performance against St. Louis. I really would have, because St. Louis is still kind of going through their own growing pains the same way.
But then again, a lot of people were saying about the defense early in the season, the preseason, that was age going to catch up to them, and would they be able to carry the team like this? Today, they pretty much carried them, for the most part.
You're right, because had they not gotten that, was it DJ Moore that got the interception?
No, that was Major Wright.
Major
of all
Wright.
People.
They ran back they kept them in a mix. Because think about it, going into halftime, it was like, really, this score is so minimal, considering the Bears, they said it perfectly when they were doing the analysis of the game. At halftime, the Rams could go into the locker room feeling good about the fact that they didn't really play well offensively, but yet technically they were still in the game. Because the Bears, even though they were playing well defensively, the offense wasn't putting up points. So, you still left that door open coming out of halftime to make the Rams feel like, hey, we can still try to make this happen because we're not out of it officially.
And then the Rams have been giving up a lot of points, as well in their first couple of games. Just a lot of things that have you kind of shaking your head about the offense, but like you were saying, all these new pieces, I think it's going to take a little time. But what I was saying as far as, the notoriously slow starts, it's been happening even without all these new pieces the last few years. So I don't know if I think the training camp has a little something to do with it.
I've always felt since Lovie Smith has been the head coach, and I think there's no secret I am not a Lovie Smith fan, that his teams are never, to me, really prepared on game day. Now, how that happens, I don't know. But I never feel like when they step on the field that they're really quite ready for the game. And you only really hear about it when there's a loss. We just didn't prepare for the game properly. So I'm like, so what did you do all week? What were you doing? If you didn't prepare for the game, that's your job. I just don't think they're really well-prepared teams. It just seems to be a consistency. So I don't know if it's like a slow start as well as they just maybe don't prepare the way that they should.
All right, well, Bears fans, I know you're out there. Give us a call here, 773-591-1690. Tell us what you thought about today. Are you optimistic about the Bears going through this year? Their next game's against the Cowboys a week from tomorrow in Dallas.
That's gonna be a hot mess.
What?
That's gonna be a hot mess in Dallas. I'm just gonna tell you that right now. Dallas, another very wishy-washy team that never seems to have it, does not seem to have it together. Yeah. So now you get two hot mess teams get to get on the field together. And the question is, who can make the fewest amount of mistakes? In fact, Lovie Smith said in the press conference, which I don't know why this sounds like it's brilliant to everybody, the key to the game is takeaways. Well, okay, let's see. I'm not a rocket scientist, but it would stand to reason that a takeaway obviously would have positive impact on the game, simply because if you're taking away the ball from the other team, it means you're taking their offense on the field and putting your offense on the field to score. So, of course, being able to get turnovers does seem to be logical. But to me, that shouldn't be the mentality of the team, is that we're going to count on takeaways to really be the X factor in our excellence. I have an issue with that.
But the Bears have been, based off of turnovers the last – How long has Lovie been here?
He's been preaching.
That's been their thing.
He's been preaching that forever. But I think that's also why they're not offensively very astute. Maybe you should preach, well, if we do get a takeaway, we need to get something out of it. Because if you don't get something out of it, then it's a waste of time. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Great, you got the takeaway, but if you don't score, if you don't get at least 3 points out of it, then it's a wasted opportunity. So I think on the flip side, you can create the takeaways, but if you're not scoring, it doesn't really matter.
Wow. So what do you think about the defensive line play so far? I mean, that was something else. I mean, I'm just kind of trying to get to some of the things that were question marks in the preseason.
I think the front four had excellent pressure in this game.
Yeah. But it's been all year, though.
But I think you're right. But especially today, I mean, Adonijah had a great game. I mean, a lot of players. Tim Jennings, across the board, you saw good play defensively from a lot of players. So I'm like, I don't have any. I'm not concerned about the defense. People can say they're aging, whatever. With age comes wisdom and smarter play. I'm okay with that. And I think they still get out there and perform as if they're competitors. I don't think that Urlacher or Briggs feel like, well, because I'm older, I'm not going to play as well. I don't think Ray Lewis thinks that way. I don't think you can tell Ray Lewis that he's old in any way, shape, or form. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think defensively the age part is not an issue. I'm not concerned about the defense. I am still a little bit concerned about the secondary, though. The defensive secondary has always been the weak link in the chain.
Tim Jennings having a Pro Bowl season, like we said earlier. Major right with the pick six today.
I mean, they had
is it Peanut or
it's Peanut
in general?
It's Peanut.
Right.
That's a big issue for me. I wish he would be moved over from a corner position to a safety position. I think his skill set would be better served in a safety role than in a corner role. I think he's maybe outgrown the ability to be effective in that position anymore. But I think as a safety, kind of doing over-the-top coverage and stuff like that, I think he can give more to the team. They need to find a way to kind of transition him over. And I don't think he would probably have an issue with that. But I think he gets exposed a little bit more than he should.
I saw something earlier. I think they were saying, as far as the defensive line, where the Bears have 14 sacks in their first 3 games so far this year. It took them to the 7th game, sixth or 7th game to get to the 14 sack last year. That's sad from last year's perspective. But this year, that's great. That's almost 5 sacks a game. So.
Exactly. I mean, they're performing, like I said, the concern for Bear fans, you shouldn't worry about their defense. You should feel comfortable with that. You should know that's often what's going to keep them in the game. You should be more concerned about offensively to have the weapons that they have and not being able to score. That's, to me, a bigger issue. I think that's the point of point of concern, as well as the O-line. Here's the thing. There's going to be moments, like there were times during the pass rush in the beginning, the first quarter, where they were just getting eaten alive. And I'm like, really? Against the Rams? Really? Really? I'm like, so what happens when you hit really good teams? I mean, like how obviously Green Bay kind of raked him over the coals the week before, which caused, obviously Cutler just spiraling out of control and getting angry. But
even next week with Dallas, I mean, their defense isn't the reason why they're kind of schizo. It's the quarterback. They have the same problems as the Bears, pretty much.
I think a lot of teams have this issue. It's the quarterback play. Yeah. It's going to come down to them figuring out how to make this work offensively. And like I said, I've said this for the last year and a half. The Bears are in this hot water for a reason. They have not drafted appropriately to accommodate the O-line to develop the talent. You don't find good O-linemen in free agency. Those people they're locked up. And if you do find someone, it's because they're in the twilight of their career.
And you don't get your left tackle in the 7th round.
You don't. I mean, okay, you know what? I'm not gonna say
the best left tackles are usually top 5 picks. So,
every now and then, you never know. You might get something, a hidden jewel that can be developed, and that's the whole point of the O-line. It's about development. So it doesn't mean that you can't find something in the draft, but because they haven't drafted that way for several years, like this year and last year was the first time they really took some picks for the O-line, but they've waited too long to develop it, and now you're really seeing that lack of commitment to developing the O-line. Maybe the very reason their offense won't be as successful as it should be.
For the record, though, with the Cutler Webb thing, I wouldn't have had a problem at all if he'd have smacked him in the back of the head.
Look,
Cutler to.
I'm going to say this. I don't have an issue with Jay Cutler saying anything to Jamarcus Webb. People say he's not a leader. I beg to differ. I think leaders don't have an issue with addressing you when something's going on. Now, granted, the media makes things happen. The camera is always at the right place at the right time, and it catches things that maybe it shouldn't see. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, unfortunately, that exchange was caught on camera. But, here's the bigger issue I had is when DJ Moore thought that he should chime in on it.
Yeah,
I'm like, here's the thing. You never air your dirty laundry in front of anybody else. And I'm glad that Lovey checked him on that. Gave him a call and said, excuse me, son. What are you doing? You have no comment to make on that. Mm-hmm. Urlacher handled it perfectly. Hey, we're teammates. We have these issues in training camp. We bump up against each other and we argue. And I think in the heat of a moment, look at it this way. Football is a very heated sport. I think your anger is running high. The energy is high. You do stuff that might be a little, meatballish. Like, think about penalties. If everyone's, head was in the game, there would never be a penalty. Mm-hmm. But it's sometimes just that imperfection and that energy surge that makes people do silly or stupid things. I mean, eventually Jay Cutler came back and said, you know what? I wouldn't change what I said to Jamarcus Webb. Obviously, me kind of maybe, nudge up against him. He said that crossed the line. I agree. I don't think it was the biggest shove. It was like a kindergarten, recess shove. Yeah. But they made it into, oh my God, he shoved him and he flew into the into the benches and the Gatorade, dispensers fell over. I'm like, really, people? Yeah. I'm like, this is football and these are full-grown men. Mm-hmm. Why are we talking about this? Isn't this what we want to see on any given Sunday? We want to see passion. And I think here's the bottom line. Jay Cutler is disliked across the league. He's seen as that
even
prima donna.
In his own city.
I don't have an issue with Cutler. He's got this.
A lot of people do here.
I think he's a drama queen. I like him too, but I also like that fiery type, so it doesn't bother me. But I think because he's not that beloved like Tom Brady or Drew Brees type personality, it's easy to find, error in everything that he does. Because if you would have had maybe Drew Brees or Tom Brady do the same action, I guarantee.
What a leader he is.
You see how fiery the winning means everything to Tom Brady.
Right.
I think how it's so funny how the media can be so skewed in their perspective of things. I'm like, you know what? Let's just let this go because it was talked about for a full week. I'm like, is the NFL this boring? Because I think the replacement referees is probably a bigger conversation right now than Jake Cutler, having words with Jamarcus Webb.
Welcome back to Stats and Stilettos. Got a comment? Call the show 773-591-1690 or leave a comment on our Twitter page @StatsStilettos.
Those of you who might be into hip-hop real deep out there might be noticing a trend with the music tonight. This show is dedicated to the greatest hip-hop album ever made, only built for Cuban links. And I use the intro music for that. I have a frown face, and we might be getting into that for a little bit. In my opinion, the greatest hip-hop album ever made, only built for Cuban links. Circa 1995, Raekwon the Chef. So using a lot of music from that album for the bump music tonight. So sit back, relax, and strap it down, as Hawk would say, and enjoy, that Raekwon the Chef right there. So we got more of that coming in the show as well. Stats and Stilettos here, 773-591-1690 is the number. Farouk, Maya for now. Ty will be here soon. And we are talking football. We're about to get into our Around the League segment in 1 minute. But, we encourage you guys to give us a call. Hit us up on Twitter and Facebook and interact with us. Talk to us. Reach out to us and touch us. So that's what we're trying to do.
Tell us what you really think.
Yeah. So.
I'm sure a lot of Bear fans are like, why are you sitting there complaining? They won the game. But, to me, you can't look at each one individually. To me, with football being such a short season, you have to look down the road. And some of the stuff is going to creep back up and bite the Bears if they don't pull it all together. So, yeah, it was a win. It wasn't a nice win. It was an ugly win. But, hey, it still gets them to where they need to be ultimately. So
You guys looked at me strange when I said that about Cuban Links, though.
I did.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's one of the best.
Don't get me, it's a good album. But I mean, can you ever really say the greatest of anything of all time?
I can.
Man, it was.
Outkast, Aquemini.
That's top 10 for me.
I think
It
that's the
might even
greatest.
be top 5.
I think that's the greatest of all time.
It might even be top 5.
It's-
But I got an Outkast one that's better than that
What's
one, though.
that?
Southern Playalistic.
No, I don't think so.
Southern Playalistic.
No, Aquemini was just so different. It was, man, I could talk about Outkast all night. So I don't know if we want to get into that.
We might. Hey, 773-591-1690. Give us your thoughts on that, too. So turn into a little music hour. But right now we're going to do some Around the League. Yeah, and what's your name, sir? Introduce yourself.
Yeah,
to
I'm
the
over here
people
talking
out
about
there.
Outkast. I ain't even introduced myself.
Yeah,
My name is Damon Spruiel, cameraman / around the league.
Wrong network.
Yeah, wrong network.
Up the dial.
Around the league. Around the league moderator. And we're going to touch on these games as Ty just walks into the building.
What a fabulous red coat on.
Yes, I know. Looking
Good thing we have a
stylish as
camera in
usual.
here.
All right, we're gonna let Ty go ahead and get set up. So first off, we're not gonna touch on the Bears. We'll bring that back for Ty, but I do want to bring up this game right here. Our host Maya, the Cougar, loves her San Francisco 49ers, but they lost today. Minnesota 24, San Francisco 13. Christian Ponder 21 for 35, 198 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown. And Alex Smith 24 for 35, 204 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Maya, defend your boys.
Look, at the end of the day, every team is going to have a game that they lose that you say, I don't understand that. I don't. I mean, this was not a good game for San Francisco. Yes, it's a loss that should not have happened. I absolutely agree. Unfortunately, you get back into losing like this is like one of those NFC matchups that I don't think it's going to hurt them down the road. But you could come back and say, if they hadn't lost that game against Minnesota somewhere, that could play into the big picture. I'm just going to chalk it up to not a good game. It seems like they started out a little slow. It seemed like it picked up in the second half.
Right.
By no means do I feel I'm not going to change my stance that the 49ers are still the team to beat. I still feel that way. And no, all of a sudden I don't feel that the Vikings are going to pillage and plunder their way through the NFC North. I don't feel that way. But hey, you know what? It was good to see Christian Ponder have a good game because you keep having all those question marks behind him. Like, is this the possible future QB for Minnesota? This is the best they've looked, in a while. So going into the third game, for them, it's an impressive win, and I'm sure it will motivate them to play better. But I don't feel that this is a game that defines the 49ers by any means. It just wasn't a good game for them.
I have a lot of stuff to say about this.
I think it was
game.
jet lag. It was a long flight. Whatever.
I think I'm going to start with the Vikings. A lot of people had them as, if not the worst, one of the worst teams in the league coming to this year.
Yeah.
So there's nothing good about this loss for a team that's, has Super Bowl aspirations like the mighty 49ers. I saw Joe Montana out there last week for him, Well, was that Steve Young?
Probably Steve Young.
Oh, okay. But no, it was Alex Smith and his 18 for 34 for 200 yards, a touchdown, and interception. That is going to be the reason they won't win the Super Bowl. It's really that simple. And now I'd be worried about Randy Moss kind of being irritated now. He's upset that he's not getting the ball or whatever. He's not on the field like he wants to be. He's not 1999, 2000 Randy Moss, but yet and still, you don't need that with that team because they didn't have that last year. Everything was all, harmonious and everything.
Harbaugh will take care of that. Understand, Randy Moss has really been quieted down for several years. When he left and went to New England, they don't tolerate his outspokenness. Then he was with the Titans for a minute. Much didn't happen. So now he's back, and I think, maybe he's feeling like I can really help this team get to that next level. Mm-hmm. Harbaugh will take care of that. Don't worry.
We'll find out. Hey, I know you.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. I just want to say I definitely just made NASCAR on 9094. Sorry I'm late. Blame American Airlines.
But you're here. It's all good.
That's right.
It's all good.
So what you got on this game, Ty?
Not much.
But, the 49ers, you can't take anything good away from this. This is a very bad loss against a much more inferior team. I think the 49ers are good, obviously, but that quarterback is going to keep them from doing anything. They're not going to do what a lot of people think they're going to do.
I beg to differ.
All right.
So be it.
Well, we shall see. We shall see. Let's go to another crazy game. Kansas City Chiefs 27, New Orleans Saints 24 in overtime. Matt Castle 26 for 44, 248 yards, 1 interception. Jamal Charles got down, 33 rushes, 233 yards for a touchdown. Drew Brees tried to help him out, tried to help the Saints out. 20 for 36, 240 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception, but it just was not enough. Let's go with you, Farouk. What you think?
You know, some more hip hop right now. I'm gonna do like a EPMD, do a knick-knack paddywhack and pass Ty the microphone on this one.
Hot potato.
So you walk in the room and then all of a sudden y'all want to start talking about the Saints. So
I mean, they did play. We got to talk about them.
I mean, really, I feel like Drew Brees is at that point where he wants to smack somebody, kind of like
You want to go Jay Cutler on somebody?
he wants to go a little Cutler on somebody, and it's his defense. Like every time it was time for him to go back on the field, the look on his face was like, I just sat down. Like I just got here, and now I'm going back. Like y'all are really getting on my nerves right now. So I mean, it's really their defense. Like their offense really seems to be like they're okay, and you know you've got some people out there, and they have a couple of issues, but you know your Jimmy Grahams of the world and Pierre Thomas, like these people are playing like we expect them to play. It's the defense that gets out there, and I mean, you know, if your defense lets the other team put points up on the board, and your offense, they can only do so much.
Jamal Charles, man. Whew.
He went off.
Wow.
A man today.
Wow. I didn't expect much from the Saints this year, but 0-3 is surprising, honestly. I didn't think they would have this bad of a start.
I'm not shocked because given everything they've had to go through just to get to the season, they were bound to have some setbacks. I wouldn't be surprised in a couple of weeks if they pull it together. I mean, let's look at it this way too. We all think that Kansas City isn't necessarily a bad team. They just quite hadn't done well so far. So they were due for a win. I mean, look at the fact. Time of possession, 42 minutes to 26.
That's that running game.
I mean, just they excelled. Total yards, 510 to 288. So you talk about just Kansas City had a great game today. And like she said, Ty said, defensively, the Saints are just not getting it done. And the Chiefs, who are a decent team, I think everyone would agree, they took advantage of the opportunity.
But give credit to Kansas City's defense. New Orleans had a big lead in this game. Kansas City came back on them.
Yeah.
So you got to give some credit.
It
to
wasn't a
shutting down that
blowout either.
offense too,
This
right.
wasn't a blowout game. It isn't like, the Saints were just, score 3 points and that's it. I mean, Drew Brees was Drew Brees today. It just didn't fall into place. That's just the bottom line.
Tried to help him, but couldn't get those Saints to march back in. All right, let's go on to another crazy game. Tennessee 44, Detroit 41. Matt Stafford was hurt in the game, left with a
Matt Stafford got hurt?
Yeah.
What?
Matthew Glassford, that's what I like to call him. Matthew Glassford.
Rewind.
Hamstring injury, so he was out. But Sean Hill stepped up, 10 for 13, 172 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jake Locker, looking not that bad, 29 for 42, 378 yards for 2 touchdowns. But the craziest play had to be that tip that Titus Young caught to send it to overtime.
Yeah.
But I'm sure one of you all are going to talk about the overtime first. So,
I saw that.
All right, go
The
ahead.
field goal with the first field goal on the first possession. I hate that.
I hate that too. It's
sudden
like-
death. What happened?
I think more needs to happen. They need to change
Yeah.
that rule. I think it's such a waste of overtime.
Yeah.
It is. They really need to reevaluate that because you're sitting there like, oh no, like if they score, this is the end. Like, and that's just not. I mean, come on.
Don't
now.
take it. That's one of the many things that
It comes
ruins
down to
college
luck.
football.
It comes down to the coin. That's really what it comes down to.
yeah.
Yep. And then, but as far as Detroit was done in this game. They were done. They got a couple of good breaks at the end. Some luck right there for them. But man, I didn't expect Tennessee. I didn't think they were capable of getting this many points. And Chris Johnson still had a bad game, and it was all in the QB right here.
Ching ching.
Well,
Got the money in,
He's
cashed out, huh?
He has a total of 33
Pretty much.
carries for 45 yards this year. That's not even 1.5 yards to carry.
That's
awful.
ridiculous.
He went backwards.
He went backwards. But I think y'all missing the play I was talking about in the overtime. Detroit had a chance to kick the field goal, but instead it was on 4th down.
Yeah.
And they tried to, as the coach said, fake them out, but they end up actually snapping the ball. They could have kicked the field goal. They could have tied it up and kept the overtime going. But it's Detroit. As I keep saying, it's the Lions. They're not that smart.
What's the deal with Stafford's injury? Is it something long term they're saying, or?
MRI's last thing I saw, but it's a hamstring once again. He's always hurt. All right, enough about Detroit. They ain't doing nothing. Okay. Next game, Jets 23.
I'm sorry. Mikael LaSure got 100 yards.
Yes, that's true.
Big game.
Big game. First game back, right? Because he got hurt.
Yeah,
he got hurt last year.
And he was suspended for the first
He's suspended, right.
And you got to look at Detroit like this. This would be their sophomore season of being a decent team.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the expectation is high because of what they did last year. But this is really only the second season where they're really
something is expected of them.
Something's expected. I mean, compared to where they came from.
Yeah.
You know,
but they are what, 1-2?
Yeah,
1-2. I mean, so this is kind of like their honeymoon period's really over.
It's way
and the
over.
expectation,
People know
which
what
is
to-
kind of quick considering this was a really quick rebuild that was great through drafting and free agency. But now the expectation is, well, after last year and given the talent base they have, which really all hasn't been on the field at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
They've had a lot of injuries in Detroit. So you're not really seeing a complete team that's been fielded the way that was drafted and built. So, it's...
They can't fall back too far behind, though. I know
No,
it's
they can't.
early, but they can't fall back.
Oh, no, they can't. I agree.
All right, back up to the Jets, 23, Miami 20 in overtime. Mark Sanchez, 21 for 45, 306 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Ryan Tannehill, 16 for 36, 196 yards, and 1 interception. Came down to a field goal and a crazy, crazy ending to the field goal. Maya?
It's Miami and the Jets. I mean, I don't mean to say this in a bad way. Miami is just not a good team. They have a lot they're working through. The Jets, I always feel, are overrated to a degree. I don't feel that this game by any means makes the Jets any better. 23-20. It is what it is. I wasn't impressed. If the Dolphins would have won, I wouldn't have been shocked. Because anything's possible.
I have better expectations for the Jets.
I love the ending to this game because something else that I hate finally backfired. The icing of the kicker. It completely blew up in Miami's face.
Yep.
And I loved it. They had the field goal blocked. They would have kept playing, but you called a dumb timeout, and now they come up, set up the field goal, he knocks it right through. And I was like, yes, thank you. There's a God. Stop doing that. You know what I mean? What's
Block
the
field
point?
goal, you are up there.
What is the point of that?
Well, the problem with that is, I mean, I understand what you're saying, and it is stupid, but because it's worked before, and you just never know, so just why not do it? If you need it, if in that situation it comes down to this, and you want to ice the kicker, I feel like 50% of the time it will work, and 50% of the time it doesn't. So they just take a chance, they flip a coin, and they say, let's see what happens. And then unfortunately, in this situation, it didn't work out for them. But this was another one of those games that went into overtime, and who cared?
And wasn't this Antonio Holmes' first game back after coming off of injury?
Yeah.
So obviously that was a boost that they needed, but
Yeah, he got the big catch that really set that field goal up, too.
so I mean, obviously a good addition, but I don't know. It's the Jets.
I can definitely say after watching Hard Knocks, I have been expecting a little bit more from Tannehill, like
Really?
something. Not that he did anything exceptional in Hard Knocks, but it's like you kind of watched how they got to that point.
Right.
So it's like, I need to understand why it is that you guys went with him as your starting quarterback. I'm not seeing it. What was the decision process behind this?
And that's a good point because in Hard Knocks, when they were making all the cuts, the coach was always so fluid and very particular about why the cut was being made. So now you're like, well, you went with Tannehill, so what was the thought pattern behind that? You're right, because when he was cutting people, it's like, remember the whole Chad Johnson part when he was like, it's not working out for us. And I think Chad was like, it may not be working out for you, but it's working out for me. Kind of look on his face like, how is this not working out? But yeah, I agree with you on that. Hard Knocks kind of made you go, okay.
Yeah,
Isn't Matt Moore still there?
Yes.
Yeah, he should have been the guy playing in the first place.
He should have been starting,
He
right?
should have been playing in the first place.
So unfortunately, I feel like it has exposed them a little bit.
That's why
when other teams have been on Hard Knocks, it's just kind of been like, okay, we got a laugh out of it. But I don't think the Dolphins were necessarily ready to be on Hard Knocks and be examined the way that we examine them now.
That's why I could take the Jets all that serious is after Hard Knocks. And I do understand that's exactly.
And that's why I like the Jets, even the little bit that I like them, because of Hard Knocks.
And I think that's why Lovie Smith does not want the Bears on Hard Knocks because he doesn't want the exposure of how ridiculous he really is.
Reggie Bush played decent again. What about the whole, no more Kardashian effect on him?
I don't think that.
He's been playing pretty good this year. Honestly, he's had some big games. Today he only had 10 carries, but he had 6.1 yards per pop.
Hey, he had a ring when he was with Kim. I'm sure he probably wants Kim back.
I don't think he
got that ring.
technically wants Kim back.
Because he could have had that back if he really wanted.
Yeah,
The door was open.
Had that back. I mean, she came used when he first got her, but she's definitely at this point. I mean, I don't want that one back.
Don't want that one back.
Hey, hit me with the stats.
Of course, Stats and Stilettos, WVON 1690.
Welcome back to Stats and Stilettos right here on WVON 1690. This is Damon Spruiel running the Around the League segment right here. We're going to hop right back into this. And before I hop back into the games, I am on Twitter, Demon's1, D-E-M-O-N-Z-E-1.
There you go.
Z-E-1. Once again,
Shameless promotion.
D-E-M-O-N-Z-E-1. That's right. I am shameless and I do not care. All right. Let's go and hop into, let's go down south. Houston. Well, actually, there was a Mile High. Houston, 31, Denver, 25. Matt Schaub slinging that ball around, 290 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. Peyton Manning, 316 yards, 2 touchdowns. This was a crazy game. Like I said before, Matt Schaub was throwing that rock around crazy, although he got rocked a couple of times. But, man, he was slinging that ball, and they had a very, very big win. Denver kind of made the game at the end, but Houston was able to hold on. Fruit, what's up?
Well, Houston, I guess I'll start with them. There's so much stuff to talk about with this game. They're living up to the hype so far, the Texans, and then they look pretty out there too. The running, they're like a mini Dallas Cowboys from the early '90s. The way they're set up right now, they have the quarterback who's not a superstar, but he's good. They have the big time wide receiver. He's not loud like Michael Irvin, and they have a very dependable, good quality running back. He's not flashy. I mean, Emmett was that. Michael Irvin was louder than Andre Johnson, but the talent level is similar. Andre Johnson is probably a better athlete. Well, obviously a better athlete.
Ooh.
But
I can hear some Cowboy fans.
Troy Aikman and Matt Schaub, I wouldn't be able to pick them apart in the lineup. I mean, everybody's going to say that because Dallas won rings, but Houston is early in this.
Okay, well, when they start winning rings, then we can do this.
But that whole setup I just said with Dallas started 1-15 before they made their progression into those rings. That didn't happen overnight for them either.
Here lies the error: is when people are so quick to compare something. You're talking about teams that won something with their talent base and a team that kind of looks like it, but it hasn't happened yet.
That's all I'm saying. They look similar to me. It looks real similar is all I'm saying. I'm not saying they're them. Let me clarify. I'm not saying that's them. I'm just saying
it's kind of like a Hall and Mirrors effect. Like, the Dallas Cowboys stands in the mirror with like 15 other mirrors, and you look back and you think you see them somewhere else. That's what it's like.
It could be that. But I mean, I like their team, and then they have that 3-4 defense.
I do.
They play really well, and then Schaub, lost the ear. Some of his ear fell off.
That's a legal hit. That's craziness. An illegal hit, helmet to helmet, and they were saying it's like down by his earlobe. It's like bloodied and a piece is missing. I'm like, what? How does that happen with a helmet on? That's what I'm kind of confused about.
He probably didn't have it strapped on that tight. That happens. I've heard a lot of commentators say that. Strapped the helmet on tight.
So when it flew off, it took a piece of his ear. I mean,
he got rocked.
Yeah.
And then he was on the field. He was like bent over and holding his head. I'm like, ouch.
And there's something I want to say about Peyton Manning too. I don't mean to be hogging the mic.
Don't.
It's not him. He's playing well, but I guess it's not really Manning. It's more the team because they need to. Their defense was so good last year, carrying Tebow around. What happened? Because now, like last Monday night in that horribly officiated game against Atlanta, and then today, they're playing catch up, and that's how he got all those big yards that he got. Really, because they were down big early.
They were, and they were coming back. It's going to be a process of they're reorchestrating this whole offense that they have. I mean, you're talking about you now have a quarterback that really knows what he's doing and has ability, and they're going to have to make this work. So once again, another team that may take a couple more games before it all kind of comes together.
Yeah, I mean, they have a quarterback, like Maya said, that knows what he's doing, and people love Peyton Manning, but at the same time, he's coming back after an injury. He was out for a year. He's with a new team. Like, it's going to take a little bit of time for them to get it together. However, I liked the Houston Texans last year.
They were good.
And I mean, I like them this year. So I'm not shocked. I do wish that the Denver Broncos could figure out what they're doing with their defense a little bit better, because that hasn't changed.
Yeah, that hasn't.
You guys will remember this night. Houston will win the Super Bowl, and my prediction about them, well, my kind of looking at them won't be that
Super
far.
Bowl what year?
They'll win the Super Bowl.
We've been hearing that. Wow.
See, that was the caveat to that. I wasn't going to say the year. But they will win the Super Bowl.
Man.
Okay.
They will win the
San
Super Bowl.
Francisco will win a Super Bowl.
They will
I'm not
win
going to
the
say
Super
when.
Bowl.
Barring
that's all
that
I'm
December
saying.
21st, that the world keeps turning. Sure, why not?
They will win the Super Bowl. I'm not going to say this next one, but they will win one.
Stats and Stilettos.
This one out to right field. Torrey's coming on, still coming on. Like that baby up as the Angels have just swept the White Sox today, the final 4-1.
Boy, what an impressive effort all around. Kidness Morales with a 2-run home run in the 6th inning. Albert Pujols drove in 2 with a double. One of his 3 hits on the game. Jared Weaver getting his career-high number 19th win. All starting that 6th inning with that walk drawn by Mike Trout. On in motion, Torrey Hunter, big base hit, goes first to third. All of a sudden you look up, 4 runs scored. Bottom of the 6th and holds that up as the starting pitching staff continues to flat out deal.
Welcome back to Stats and Stilettos here on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON. Going into our second hour tonight, we talked a lot of Bears, a lot of NFL football like we normally do in the first hour of the show. Now we're going to dive into the White Sox. Coming up at 10:20, we'll have on Brittany Rand, social media coordinator for the Chicago Football Classic, to talk about this Saturday evening's upcoming game here in Chicago at Soldier Field. And we'll do some other stuff as well later on in the show. Now, we got to talk about the Sox.
Don't look so sad.
This has been so excruciating. This past week, we had the high of the game on Monday. They beat the Tigers. And since then, they won the first game of the road trip in Kansas City, and they've lost 5 in a row. But they picked up a game today because the Tigers go out and lose a doubleheader at home to the Minnesota Twins. What is going on? These two teams are so bad. Detroit.
So now you are feasting on other people's loss.
That's all we got right now.
That's pretty much all you got left, huh?
We're going to the last week of the season, pretty much. It's 10 games left. This is the last homestand. The Sox have a 1-game lead, 81-71. Man, what the heck is going to happen?
You want me to say something?
Yes, say something, please.
I'm just to the point where I'm just overall frustrated with the play. I mean, this is like the worst time for a team to slump. Like, if you got a slump in July.
Yeah.
This is like just not a good time for them not to be on the same page. I mean, it is what it is. And, if they manage to crawl into the playoffs, which I'm not saying is impossible, it'll be very interesting to see how it plays out. If
they don't do this, is this choke status? Was the lead big enough? And was it late enough to call this a choke?
Well, here's the thing about the White Sox. It's been a very unexpected season to begin with. Mm-hmm. I don't think anybody anticipated that, one, you'd be talking playoffs about them, period, this year, or two, that they would be leading the division as long as they have. I mean, two things that were pleasant surprises. So not to say that if they don't make the playoffs, I'm okay with it, because it's still disappointment. Like, wow, you did all this, and all of a sudden you just ran out of gas. I don't know.
So is this something that you put in the same category, since you're calling everybody the Chicago Bulls of something, the Atlanta Falcons? And do the White Sox then fall into that category? Or, their regular season was what it was, and then they make it this far, and then wah.
See, I'm trying to decide if I can call this a choke or not if they don't have this, because you go into the last 2 weeks of the year with a 3-game lead. I'm thinking, is that lead big enough to really say they coughed it up, or they just completely spit the bid on this? And I'm not sure yet. DeMars is saying, heck yeah, but I don't know if 3 games is enough to consider it a choke. I'm still kind of going back and forth with that, but it would be horribly bad, especially if they lose the last. They've lost 5 in a row. They lose the last 15.
Like, so what's so
that
bad?
Would be very
is the
bad.
NL is all wrapped up. That's what's really bad about the AL. Like, the Nationals obviously clinched a playoff spot. So did the Giants, and then actually the Reds actually won the division. Mm-hmm. I mean, so you got all of these teams that have already in the NL that it's all neatly tied up and it's set and ready to go. And then you've got these AL teams that are going to have to take it down to like the 11th hour to figure out what's going to happen. That's insane. That it's just, but at the same time, I guess if everything was all clean cut and dry, it might be kind of boring too at the same time. So it's just very interesting that, let's put it this way. If you're a White Sox fan, here's one thing you can walk away with and say. Everybody had given this division to Detroit. Mm-hmm. It was Detroit. Hey, I'm going to take a Cam Newton approach on this. It was Detroit's division to lose. It's pretty much what people had pretty much said across the board, is that this is Detroit's division to lose. But yet they've never really had command of it the entire season. So at this point, I would never say, well, it's the White Sox division to lose. I don't know if I can say that. But it is their division to win if they can pull it together.
I wouldn't be surprised if they got in the playoffs and won the World Series. And I know that's stupid to say that now, the way they're playing, but that's kind of just the way baseball is, man. And as bad as they look now, they could just get hot at the right time. Just get there.
Anything is possible because you've seen them during the regular season beat almost every team that's going into the playoffs. So it isn't, impossible. The question is it probable is what it really comes down to. So,
What do you think is going to happen? Like I said, this last week of the year, regular season.
Unfortunately, they do have to wrap their schedule up. Okay, they get Cleveland, so hopefully those will be games that they can put away. And then they got to face the Rays, which I'm not saying they can't beat the Rays, but that's going to be a tough series for them, especially if they're still dragging their heels the way they have been. On the flip side of that, Detroit kind of gets to end their schedule. By strength of schedule, Detroit's on the upside. If you look at they have they play the Twins.
Yeah, they're playing Kansas City next, and they have them at home, but they just lost a doubleheader home to the Twins.
And the thing is, but Detroit's usually played the Royals pretty well. Now, I'm hoping that the Royals want to be spoilers.
Yeah,
and they
play them, pretend like they have White Sox jerseys
and they want to play them just to be a spoiler for it all.
Yeah.
So, but when it's all said and done, I think the White Sox have a little bit tougher schedule to wrap up the season with. But if they can pull it together and play good baseball, it's possible. I'm not going to say no.
And then now Tampa is hot. Like they're trying to turn it on here at the end,
that's what I'm saying.
And sneak into the playoffs. So it looks grim.
I'm not. It's been like this whole season. The White Sox have been flying by the seat of their pants the entire season, to be honest. And so with that being said, I'm just going to go with it and go, whatever happens, happens. But you're right, because the Rays, are technically still in the wild card race, but they're 9 games back. They'd have a lot they'd have to accomplish. I'm sorry, they're not 9 games. They're 6 games back. They have 10 games left.
But they're 3 back in the wild card. Though.
Right.
So they're still right there.
They have so they're going to walk into this series against the White Sox, and both of these teams have something to lose. And obviously, as far as I'm concerned, the White Sox have more to lose because they need to win the division to get into the playoffs. That's just the bottom line. There is no wild card hope for, honestly, the White Sox or Detroit. It's either one of them need to win the division to make it happen.
Man, this is going to be – I'll put on somebody's Facebook page. This week is going to give me a heart attack.
You know what? When I started watching them do stupid stuff, I turned the game off. I'm like, they're not going to aggravate me because I don't get paid. I turned it off. I said, I'm not – click.
What happened to the offense? This road trip, they couldn't hit anything. I'm not even really tripping about the Angels series because I feel like the Angels are going to find their way into that last wild card spot. So I fully expected the Angels to be playing well, but Kansas City, like we've been saying,
It's I don't know. It's just it's been this kind of season all season. So they never broke away from Detroit and just ran away with the division to begin with. It was always 3 games. I think maybe 4 was the most they ever got ahead. So they never really ran away with it. So I'm not shocked that somehow we're down to 1 game again. And they're still a front runner, so we'll see what happens.
All right.
I think this does come down to coaching, though. This might be the time that you wish you had an experienced coach.
Wish Ozzie was still here.
I don't know his crazy self.
Experienced coach.
He'd be cursing everybody. No, I don't know. I feel like I don't know where they're gonna find the direction that they need to make this happen. That's just Ventura seems so, I like the fiery coach kind of thing. I like it. Not over the top, but I'm just wondering how he's going to corral this all in and make this work.
All right, well, we'll see what happens. Like I said, it's a big week, huge week. So college football stuff, Notre Dame, when are we going to start taking them seriously? They put up another good defensive performance against a very overrated team this past Saturday. So what's their deal? Are we seriously considering them as a
I'm not.
national title contender?
No.
I'm not. I think they've been lucky. They've played well, but they also played a very discombobulated Michigan team.
Man, they are so overrated.
I just got so tired of at some point, obviously I'm an Ohio State fan. Under no circumstances do you root for Michigan, unless it's going to help Ohio State in some way, but only if they're way at the bottom of the poll and we're at the top. So, but at some point I'm sitting there going, can you just not throw an interception? Can you just not do that? And obviously, I would want him to throw interceptions, and I would want Notre Dame to, get a touchdown off of that. But every time you come back in the game, you throw an interception.
But that's his problem. He can't throw.
I understand that. But I feel like, yesterday it made Notre Dame. Wait, I'm losing track of days. It made Notre Dame look phenomenal, and I'm not convinced on Notre Dame yet. I'm just not. I mean, they'll always have a good program because it's Notre Dame and people want to go to Notre Dame and they want to play football there. But at the end of the day, they've never in recent history been that team that you're like, oh, they deserve to go to, blah, blah, blah bowl game.
Well, I mean, they came to this season unranked, and now, they're going to be in the top 10 when the polls come out tomorrow, more than likely.
They were like 12 or something yesterday.
Yeah, so they'll be in the top 10. If they lose one game, they'll still wind up in a BCS bowl game because of the name. So I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Not only that, but half of us can't go this year anyway. So,
but I wouldn't be surprised at all if, say, just for the sake of argument, Notre Dame got up there close to 1 or 2 to 2. I'll say, and just because of their name, just because it's Notre Dame, that they got some strong consideration or some strong computer votes or whatever the heck that BCS thing does for that title game.
And I can't.
Just because it's Notre Dame.
I also can't take them serious this year because I'm still trying to understand how you can claim a conference for your basketball team and then not your football team. I don't understand that. I don't understand how you can how you can slice up your athletic department and say, we're going to put field hockey over there. We're going to take football for ourselves. Oh, basketball? Yeah, we're going to put that over there. I don't understand that.
3 letters. NBC.
Yeah, that's pretty common. That's the dollars, and basketball doesn't generate that type of money for the school. So, but yeah, that's Notre Dame. They think they're special. Let's switch gears and we can fade away from talking about Howard University. One of the stories that we were talking about during the break was how Manny Pacquiao seems to be really pushing this fight with Mayweather. He went on and pretty much said that he'll take, obviously less purse money in a matchup with him, and was on ESPN's First Take on Thursday and pretty much put it out there as in saying, I'm waiting for the fight to happen. I don't know what reason why the fight has not happened. It's okay for me if he gets a higher percentage. So at this point, it seems like the ball is really being pushed in Mayweather's court to make it happen. But when Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith were talking about this, Skip Bayless and his way of doing things was really making it seem like, okay, look, I think the reason the fight hasn't happened is because Mayweather is afraid he would lose to Pacquiao. I wonder how many people think that in that matchup that Mayweather would lose to Pacquiao.
A lot of people.
I don't have an issue with it. I know
a lot of people that
I think I'm one of those people.
I don't have an issue. I think that Manny Pacquiao is a good fighter, but a lot of people, I don't know if that's the reason. Do you think that's the reason the fight hasn't actually happened?
I don't know, because right now I'm searching for a story about these two individuals and 50 Cent. I was reading somewhere on Friday. I'm trying to find the exact information because we had a little confusion with some scores earlier. So I want to make sure I have this correct about this.
And speaking of that score, it was Louisiana Tech, but it still wasn't whatever South Carolina school you were talking about. But anyway, I do believe one of the reasons is because Mayweather thinks he might just lose.
What I think is interesting is why Mayweather believes that he deserves a higher percentage. To me, you're not bringing to the ring an opponent that is not expected or respected by the boxing community, and this is a fight that everyone feels is the next big fight to happen. So I think I'm a little confused why he thinks he's supposed to get more money.
I wonder what this has to do with. This is from September 19th. This is in the Griot. 50 Cent, Manny Pacquiao posing together in a picture, and some promotion company that they're supposed to be starting up. This guy, Michael Kahns, confirmed it. He's confirmed it to Boxing Scene that 50 Cent and Manny Pacquiao are planning to form a promotion company. Everybody knows about 50 Cent knows, he and Mayweather are like, this, and I'm crossing my fingers for his radio, so it really doesn't make any sense. But, they're supposed to be like really tight or whatever, but he's going into business with Pacquiao, and Mayweather was supposed to be involved in this. And Kant says initially it was going to be 50 Cent, Manny, and Floyd, but right now I don't think Floyd is going to be a part of it.
That don't even sound right.
Yeah.
That sounds like some twisted like.
So what's the real reason why this fight isn't happening? If these guys were about to go into business together, I wonder what's the whole little underlying
but this
thing
is not
going on
something
right
that's just recent. This is, I feel like, years. Like,
This has
we've
been
been waiting on this for a while. So I don't think it has anything to do with recent business developments or any of that. I think it comes down to this is the fight that everybody wants to see. After this fight takes place, there's a clear winner. We've seen it. It's over.
No,
there
rematch.
is nobody else.
Then it's a rematch. You
But
get
even
2 fights out of it.
but I still feel like the balloon has deflated some because finally we've seen them in the ring.
Right.
Regardless of who wins, regardless of if there's a rematch, we've seen it. Thank you. Good night. Go to bed. Like,
Right.
It's a wrap.
And even with Pacquiao's loss, I don't feel that makes him not the contender that everybody wants to see against Mayweather.
Yeah.
Because that fight was so suspect in the first place. But it's interesting that it seems like Pacquiao is putting on the table like, look, I'm ready to fight. I'll even take less money. Whoever says that. Of course, he has probably so many endorsements and stuff going. The money is not an issue to him at this point. But if he's willing to make all these concessions, the fight needs to happen. And it makes you wonder, if you take money out of the equation, then why is Mayweather not saying yes? Maybe he is afraid to fight him. Maybe he is afraid this could be the loss that he might get.
I don't know. I think reading this story kind of made me feel a little different about the whole somebody's not trying to fight somebody else and just trying to figure out like what's really going on with these.
But even with that, it's just another excuse for him to latch onto because this is not new. This is years in the making. So now I just feel like it's something else. Mayweather will say, oh, 50 did blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to fight Pacquiao.
But clearly Pacquiao is putting the conversation back on the table. Mm-hmm. This conversation just happened on ESPN Second Take on Thursday. So he's putting it back on the table like this fight needs to happen and you won't be able to say that I'm not the person that isn't trying to initiate it.
I'm sure he's tired of people asking him.
So he's like,
when are you guys going to fight? When are you guys going to fight? When are you guys going to fight?
Ladies, it's time for the Sports Chick Tip of the Week.
Nobody want to hear about that?
Thanks. So this week, the tip is understanding the anger associated with your team losing. Ladies, if it's Sunday and your guy is sitting on the couch watching the game, throwing stuff, you might want to leave him alone. When the game's over, he don't want to talk. He don't want to go nowhere. He don't want you to rub his back. He don't want you to say, baby, what's wrong? He don't want you to say anything. He doesn't want to go anywhere. He just wants to sit there and he wants to wallow in this loss. Once you understand football more, and when you have a relationship with said team,
I like that.
You will understand the anger that is associated with your team losing, especially if they usually win.
This could be your best one.
And they lose. Really?
Yes. No, I think this is your best one. I love it.
No, I agree 100%.
I just think more women need to understand that. And I've watched it happen. A group of people sit in a room and the guy's team will lose and the woman will go, oh, babe, it's okay. There's always next week. Oh. No! There is no next week. This is it. This is the only game. This is the Super Bowl. Every Sunday is the Super Bowl as far as he is concerned.
But that's, that is very true. And I don't think it even translates. God forbid the man that doesn't watch sports. I don't understand how that genetically happens. That should be like in every man's DNA. But I've dated people that didn't like sports the same way. And they're like, well, why do you have to sit there and watch the game? Why can't you just record it? What?
Wow.
Yeah. No,
dum-dum. It's just the people.
You big dummy.
Whoa, that was close. Was that
close.
good?
Oh, it was no good.
He missed it. Whoa! Wow! I'm looking at the real. I was looking at the replay.
Why did they change the score?
Wait.
Yeah, the NBC flash. Baltimore is the winner, but no.
Oh wait, not
at all.
the winner.
Is it at a review?
Not at all. See, Baltimore celebrating. Ray, you need some glasses, brother. Ray Lewis.
His eyes were extra
Well,
large.
apparently the replacement refs need some.
Wow, we have 5 minutes. You said the magic phrase, replacement refs.
Well, out of fairness, though, that's probably a review because it looked just like it was good.
They're going to review
They're
that.
going to review that.
Was very
The
close.
replacement refs have added an additional 20 to 30 minutes to every freaking football game. Today, in the Saints game, first of all, 4 hours.
Yes.
4 hours worth of football.
I've
now,
never seen a football
not
game
that I
in my
don't love football, but come on.
Oh, that's what
Look at Bill Belichick.
Wait, you ran the rep. He was like, hold up, partner, hold up.
I've never seen him
I've never seen him do that even before. I was like, wow.
Wait, are they coming back on the field? What?
This
Is the game over? We're going to, wait a minute.
He was like, hold up, wait a minute. And the ref was like,
the game's over.
Wow.
They called that good, huh? They called it.
It wasn't.
Wow.
Here comes another controversy.
See, now
New England got robbed.
Perfect. We have time to talk about this. This goes into what happened this past Monday night in the Denver-Atlanta game, where all those horrible calls on a national stage on Monday Night Football
That led to lots of fighting.
Exactly. Now you get another national stage. That was a missed field goal right there.
That was a missed field goal.
I'll have to see it again. That
was tight though. Yeah, man, that was.
It looked
close.
like a miss. It looked like a miss.
It was, but in that situation, why would it not be reviewed?
Yeah, that needs to be reviewed.
At the end of a game, why would the replacement refs be running off of the field? Why are they doing that?
Because they was like, I got to get.
Why wouldn't they go to the booth if it was that close and say, "Let's review it to make sure"?
Because a couple times Ray Lewis has said, "I'm gonna shank you if you don't call this game right." That's
what is up with whoever is in charge of these negotiations for the NFL? They're getting embarrassed on national TV. These aren't like regional games where they're having these terrible miscues. These are the national games.
Did you hear the announcers during that Atlanta game last week?
Yeah, Mike Tirico and John Gruden.
They lit.
Yes. And they never say anything bad about anybody.
And they specifically said they're not even the best of what college refs had to offer.
Yeah, because college guys want to work in the NFL.
No, remember, they could not pull from Division I school refs. That was part of what they could not do. So you are getting lower echelon refs in the NFL. They could not pull from them.
You're getting the guys to do my son's games.
Popular refs.
Yeah, you're getting those guys.
They might be
You know
less
what?
than that.
Let's just be honest though. You do have people that this is new for them. They had to do this on the fly. I mean, so granted, we want to be mad at them, but let's just be honest. This should be exactly. Did we expect anything more from them?
But that's my point. This isn't on them. They're horrible. Everybody knows this. This is on the NFL. Roger Goodell isn't watching this.
No, this isn't just NFL. This is also this is a labor negotiation. This isn't.
But
that's why my flight was late because the American pilots.
Everybody wants more dollars. And
if it's a labor negotiation, then the referees union has all the power right now.
And they do. And unfortunately, I guess at some point you got to take a stand and say, they're like this. If we give you more, the next time this comes around, it's more and it's more. They're going to have to hash it out. It's business.
But look at the quality of your game right now. The NFL has to realize that, yes, this is business, and the quality of our game sucks because of the officials right now.
The games are going to happen. Like Cortland Finnegan said, he was like, they're actually letting us play football. I kind of enjoy it because I can knock people around and not get called. I mean, it is what it is. I'm not the one out there. I mean, I'm not getting knocked around, so hey.
But you know what's going to happen? Peyton Manning or somebody like that is going to get hurt, and then all this will magically disappear. No, I'm just saying a quarterback.
I'll be upset then.
That's what I mean. A quarterback of that stature will get hurt because of a non-call or something. That's a missed field goal. I don't care what anybody says.
It's a toughie.
But
they should have.
I need a different angle. The problem
this.
is,
you
I
do
need
know
a different
we're
angle.
seeing
look
this.
at Bill Belichick.
But we're seeing this. We're seeing that in slow motion. They didn't see that in slow motion. Out of fairness.
Look at Bill Belichick.
Okay, another show is under our belts, and thanks to everyone for listening. Farouk, go ahead and give your spiel.
Thank you to Brittany Rand from a Chicago Football Classic for joining us tonight. Thank you to all of the staff. I don't have time to name all of you. You know who you are. Thank you for hanging out with us. Thank you to the callers, the listeners, everybody on Facebook and Twitter. Check you next week.
Go out on Saturday.
Holla.
Yeah.